Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Mr. Saem Today we'll be solving IGCSE ICT November 2022. Paper 1, we'll be discussing this. Okay, you can get an access to more of the solved papers at mrsaem.com. So here we start. Complete the following sentences using the most appropriate words. So obviously, the initial questions tend to be very easy, but let's discuss it. So the page orientation that is taller, obviously, it's portrait. The area at the bottom of the page, it's a footer. The first line of the paragraph that appears at the last line is known as the orphan. I hope you have an idea. And the part of the text that remains on the previous page is known as a widow. So widow is an orphan. Text aligned horizontally in the middle is obviously known as centered. A computer-controlled greenhouse is used to grow plants. State 3 sensors that could be used in a greenhouse, in a glass house, sorry. Okay. So obviously there are lots of your pH sensor, your light sensor, temperature sensors. You have you can use a moisture sensor. Okay. So you can use all these multiple sensors in a greenhouse, right? Circle 2 features of multimedia presentation which could not be found in word processing. Obviously, in word processing, you cannot have sound or video, right? The rest of that you can. Question number 4, a person contacts an online medical website that uses an expert system to allow users to self-diagnose illnesses. Write down the component within the expert system that matches the definition given. This component is known as, so obviously, if you have an idea about expert system, okay, so you have a database of facts where all the information has been stored through the process of data mining. You create is a knowledge base. The component carries out the reasoning of expert system. Obviously, it's through the inference engine. And inference engine, in order to do this, uses the rule base. This component allows the person to interact with the system. So it's a user interface. It could be even called as a GUI. Okay, you can also call it a GUI or graphical user interface. Sorry for my writing. Or this could also be the interactive user interface. So you have to describe how an expert system is used to diagnose an illness. Okay, so this is your 6 marks question. You need to tell, obviously, is the usable type in the questions related to the illness, any particular illness. A series of yes/no questions will be asked, which will lead to more questions. The inference with the help of rule base will be able to find out the possibilities of the diagnose, and the treatment are then displayed, okay, or they could be printed out. That's the entire process that you have to explain, the input, process, and output. The restaurant owner is planning to upgrade the software used to book reservations. He has employed a system analyst who is analyzing the current system. The system analyst can either send questionnaires for the staff to answer or observe staff working with the current system. Discuss the advantage and disadvantages of using questionnaires that staff answer rather than observation. Okay, so obviously, a very typical question, not a very complicated one. Questionnaires need to be tend to be anonymous, where observations are not. Questionnaires can be sent to all people at the same time. Observations may only see one part of the operation. Yes, observations need to be conducted at a particular time, but questionnaires can be filled up anytime. Okay, for example, it can be given to a salesperson. It takes time to create a questionnaire, so there will be less chances of any errors within it. While observations can record at times errors, maybe there could be errors because of wrong observation as well. Okay, so it depends on it. Okay, but there could be even more points to it. The points could differ as well, but they should be appropriate. A restaurant uses a number of different types of software. These include control, measurement, spreadsheet, and word processing. Take the most appropriate. So obviously producing menus will be word processing. Calculating will be spreadsheet. Automatically, obviously turning on, turning off will be your control. Measuring the temperature, obviously measuring. So monitoring and we will be in the measurement. Yes. Okay. The web page can contain images saved as PNG or GIF. Okay. You're supposed to know that your PNG is a new version. PNG is basically not for moving. Okay, therefore transparent. GIF is for moving and transparent as well. Both are bitmap based. Okay, bitmap based are made of pixels, and like vector based, which are made up of lines and mathematical calculations. So you're supposed to know bitmap versus graphic as well. Okay, vector based, sorry, vector versus bitmap. This is what you're supposed to know as well. Okay, so PNG, transparent, and GIF for moving. Explain the differences between the two. I just told you that PNG is newer version, which has more color combinations, right? And PNG cannot be used for animations, where GIF can be used for animations. Okay, so this is the basic difference between these two, right? So this is a question where we talk about a school librarian is setting up a database for all books he has in stock. The school library revision books to students. The book range from this to this, 1 to 10, and are available either in electronic or in physical book. The librarian is planning to set up a number of different types of validation rule for the fields to check data entry. Write down the most appropriate field name from the table that could be used with each validation rule. Your answer must be different in each case. So you have studied this. So obviously we have to tell over here is presence, what type of validation rules can we apply. So you can see in case of your presence can be applied in ISBN. For the book type, I can use is a lookup. Range, we can use it for the cost. Okay, and in department, obviously we can use the length check for the department. Write down the most appropriate field name from the table that could be used at primary key. Obviously, ISBN is the most relevant one because it is one of the key that is unique. Most of the revision books are available in electronic book type as digital versions of the printed books. These are stored as interactive PDF files. Describe the drawbacks and benefits of using digital version. Again, a very generic question. Okay, obviously, the advantage of digital version, they can be easily integrated with other softwares. Okay, and if you have digital versions, you have the advantage that people who have eyesight problems or disabled, they can zoom in for clarity. Okay. Moreover, we can talk about that, but digital tend to have issues with health. Obviously, if you keep on using digital for a long time, it's not good for your health. Since the question talks about benefits and drawbacks, we have talked about both of them. These would also require extra software to read them. Yes, if you don't have the software, you'll not be able to load it. You need the device and you need to have internet connection at times as well. Okay, so these are the problems that you need to, and then obviously your device needs to be charged as well. So you can mention that as well. Okay, digital copy obviously has the following disadvantages. An organization has changed the way in which members of the staff can enter the building. Previously, they type in 4-digit code using keypad. Now they use a device called that reads a handprint. Discuss the effectiveness of using a handprint, which means biometric, frankly speaking, to enter the building rather than keying in the data. Again, a very generic question. I think this paper was very IT related, but did not have many to the point questions. It was quite generic. So in case of handprint, which is meant by biometric, obviously is faster. Key in takes more time, right? There are more chances, less chances in handprint. In case of finger is damaged, it might not work. Okay, obviously, handprint system can be slower because you have to keep in the database image format of every handprint. So it could be obviously more complex to set up, more time to take a biometric of every person. So this could be a bit of a troublesome work to do. Therefore, it would take more time, right? So you would not want to give your biometric information to everyone. It might go into wrong hands. That could also be an issue, right? Handprint scans are an example of biometric method. Just told you that. Give 2 other examples of biometric. Yeah, we can use fingerprint and retina scanning, okay, or iris scanning. The use of email has replaced many forms of communication. Describe the constraints that you would need to consider when writing and sending an email. Well, obviously, this is just a general thing where you have to talk about acceptable language. You are not always typing in capital, okay, when you're sending an email. Emails of companies have to follow local guidelines. Employer has to, sent by employer. The employee has to obey the employer's guidelines. In case of email, protecting one's password is very important to be aware of the fact that email accounts can be illegally accessed. You might think of other answers as well. Okay, but there could be more, but these are the most important one I thought of mentioning with you. Okay. For each of the following types of backing storage, give one example of its associated media. Your answers must be different in each case. So optical CD, magnetic tape, and solid state memory stick. Still, I think it's very, very easy. Describe three different differences between optical and magnetic. Well, obviously, optical data is stored using laser and magnetic fields. Okay, magnetic data can be affected through magnets, whereas optical cannot. Optical is faster, magnetic is slower. Explain two ways she could search for information in the World Wide Web. Okay, obviously, if you're researching for something, you'll just type in the web address if she's wanting to and use the search engine to find it. What is the difference between the World Wide Web, the internet, and the World Wide Web? The difference. So basically, a World Wide Web is a collection of websites which is accessed from the internet. The internet is a network of networks. Basically, it is the infrastructure. It contains also all the set of rules that govern the principles of communication known as protocols. So all the protocols we talk about in the network, such as when we talked about TCP, IP, okay, HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, SMTP. These are all the protocols, and make sure you do them really well. Revise protocols really well. Okay, right? SMTP. Okay, IMAP, Internet Message Access Protocol, Simple Mail Protocol. So you have to know all these. The internet contains three web development layers. Fine, the question is about that. Name and describe the two other layers of view. So obviously the behavior layer, which is with JavaScripting, and the content, which is the HTML through which you can add the content. So JavaScripting we can use for behavior. Okay, to add interactive to a page, we usually say that behavior layer allows a person to interact with the web page. Explain why tables can be used to structure the elements web page. Obviously, tables can allow the proper positioning of images, text, videos, audios to be properly displayed at a particular position always. Okay, there are two ways you can use tables or div tags. So it's very important to use tables for the proper alignment of every object within a page. A teacher is concerned that students are playing online computer games at home without considering e-safety. The teacher is going to create a set of rules that he feels they should be following. Write down a list of e-safety rules that he could use. Well, the rules could conclude not to give away personal information, such as one should not use their real name. Instead of photos of students, they should be using, obviously, is avatars. Okay, it's avatars. Okay, my we became too big, right? Unwanted messages or emails should be ignored. Any sort of financial information should also be avoided. Explain why section column breaks are important. Obviously, to adjust stagnation, okay, and also used to avoid widows and orphans. So basically, they are used to improve the layout of the entire page. Okay, that's why we use them. So this question is basically an employee is carrying out work of her company at home. The work she is doing is confidential. She has been advised by her company to use encryption. She wishes to transfer some of this work to the office. Discuss two different methods that she could use to transfer this work to the office. Include in your answer the advantage and disadvantages. So cloud storage can be used as it would be accessible from anywhere, although an internet connection would be required. Secondly, a portable storage device will be required, can also be used. to eliminate the use of internet. But portable device can be damaged. Lastly, email can be an option. This also requires an connection for latest email, okay, but does not require any physical device. So, right. Describe what is meant by term encryption. Obviously means converting data into a scrambled form that cannot be read by someone else. If you want to decrypt it, you have to use is a key, and it's used to prevent hackers to get an access to the data. If they get an access, they will not be able to read the data. That's why we use it. Take the most appropriate working patterns. An employee works a full day but negotiates with the employees. Flexible, right? An employee works the same number of hours as full week, but fewer days, compressed, exactly. An employee works for few hours than a full-time employee, which is part-time, right? So this was the paper. I'll be solving some other papers as well of IGCSE ICT theory paper. Okay, so see you next time.